camera appears beside a roadway. It may be mounted on a black pole, attached to a traffic sign, or powered by a small solar panel. It doesn't issue speeding tickets. Instead, it photographs passing vehicles, reads license plates, and uses artificial intelligence to identify details such as the vehicle's make, model, color, and other distinguishing characteristics. Every observation is tagged with a time and location before being uploaded into a searchable cloud database. One camera records one road. Thousands of connected cameras can reconstruct where a vehicle has traveled across an entire city. Tens of thousands, shared across counties and states, become something much larger. A privately operated surveillance network capable of following vehicles across enormous distances. Flock Safety promotes that network as a public safety tool, and it can absolutely provide valuable evidence during legitimate criminal investigations. But that benefit should not prevent us from asking a much bigger question. The question is no longer whether a license plate reader can help solve a crime. The question is whether Americans are willing to build a nationwide movement tracking system before putting meaningful constitutional safeguards in place. Many public discussions treat every Flock device as though it's the same technology. It isn't. Flock now offers automated license plate readers, live surveillance cameras, gunshot detection sensors, drones, mobile surveillance trailers, and an investigative software platform called Flock OS. Each serves a different purpose. The cameras collect information, the software connects it. Together, they create something far more powerful than a collection of roadside cameras. Flock's best-known products are its automated license plate readers. Unlike a traffic camera that simply records an intersection, these systems are designed to identify vehicles and make them searchable later. The software doesn't only search by plate number. It can also identify vehicles by characteristics like make, model, color, and other visual features. These cameras aren't continuously live streaming video, but they create a searchable history showing where a vehicle was observed and exactly when it was there. Over time, that history can reveal where someone works, worships, visits family, seeks medical care, or attends political events. The concern isn't one photograph. It's thousands of photographs connected into a permanent movement history. Flock's ecosystem extends well beyond license plate readers. Its live video cameras use artificial intelligence to detect people and vehicles. Its gunshot detection systems use microphones to identify emergency sounds. Its drone as first responder program can launch drones before officers even arrive on scene. Each technology can have legitimate public safety applications. The concern is what happens when all of them are connected into one centralized investigative platform. Perhaps the company's most significant product isn't a camera at all. It's Flock OS. Flock OS combines information from cameras, alerts, and investigations across multiple agencies and jurisdictions. One camera watches one location. A platform connects every location. Once a vehicle appears repeatedly across that network, investigators can quickly reconstruct where it traveled, when it appeared, and which communities observed it. That ability, not any single camera, is what has many privacy advocates concerned. Flock is not a government agency. It is a private company providing surveillance technology to police departments, businesses, schools, and neighborhoods. Large-scale surveillance that once required significant manpower can now be accomplished with a simple database search. Civil liberties organizations have pointed out that the overwhelming majority of vehicles scanned by these systems are not connected to criminal activity. They're ordinary people driving to work, taking children to school, attending church, visiting friends, or simply living their daily lives. A license plate doesn't reveal someone's thoughts, but years of location history often can. Privacy concerns became much harder to dismiss after independent cybersecurity researchers examined Flock's technology. Researchers including John Gaines, Joshua Michael, and Ben Jordan documented numerous security concerns. They demonstrated that physical access to certain hardware could expose administrative functions. Several of these findings were later assigned official common vulnerabilities and exposures numbers. Ben Jordan didn't stop with online demonstrations. He brought those concerns directly before the Dunwoody, Georgia City Council during public discussions about expanding Flock's services. His recommendation was remarkably simple. Before governments purchase surveillance systems capable of tracking citizens' movements, they should require independent cybersecurity audits. Cities inspect bridges. They audit financial records. Surveillance systems capable of collecting enormous amounts of personal information should be held to the same standard. The greatest danger isn't always an outside hacker. Sometimes it's an authorized user. Reports have documented officers using license plate reader systems to monitor romantic partners and other individuals for personal reasons. Supporters often respond that every search is logged, but audit logs usually reveal misconduct only after it has already occurred. They don't necessarily prevent someone from abusing the system in the first place. Real accountability requires active oversight, regular audits, and meaningful consequences. Flock frequently points out that its license plate readers don't use facial recognition. That may be true, but a system doesn't need facial recognition to effectively track a person. Most people travel in vehicles connected to themselves or to their families. Artificial intelligence introduces another concern. Instead of simply searching for known suspects, algorithms can begin identifying driving patterns they consider suspicious. A person circling a neighborhood might be planning a burglary, or they might be delivering food, searching for an address, avoiding construction, or looking for a lost pet. Context matters. Algorithms don't always understand context. A local community may believe it is approving only a handful of cameras. In reality, it may be connecting itself to a much larger surveillance network stretching across multiple jurisdictions. That interconnected network is what gives the platform its value. It also increases the importance of transparency, oversight, and clear limits on how information is shared. Flock says customer data is encrypted, searches are logged, and privacy protections are built into its platform. Those claims deserve consideration. They also deserve independent verification. Across the country, some communities have delayed, paused, or ended Flock contracts over concerns involving cybersecurity, transparency, and misuse. Powerful technology requires equally powerful oversight. The roadside camera is only the visible part of the system. The real infrastructure exists inside cloud servers and data centers. Those facilities store, organize, and analyze enormous amounts of surveillance information. Without them, cameras remain isolated devices with limited storage. With cloud computing and artificial intelligence, they become part of a nationwide surveillance architecture, capable of remembering movements for months or even years. As communities debate new data centers, they shouldn't discuss only jobs, tax revenue, and electricity demand. They should also ask what information those facilities will process, who owns it, who has access to it, and what surveillance systems they ultimately support. The cameras collect, the data centers remember. This debate isn't about banning every surveillance technology. Many of these tools have legitimate public safety uses. An Amber Alert is very different from years of warrantless historical movement searches. The issue is whether meaningful safeguards exist before the technology expands. Governments should consider warrant requirements for historical searches, short data retention periods, limits on data sharing, independent security testing, annual public audits, strict penalties for misuse and public approval before expanding surveillance systems. Technology should always operate within clear constitutional boundaries. Supporters often argue that communities should simply trust their local police. But constitutional protections were never created because every official is dishonest. They exist because people change. Leadership changes. Software changes. Corporate ownership changes. Political priorities change. Power should never depend solely on the assumption that everyone who controls it today, or decades from now, will always use it responsibly. An authoritarian surveillance system rarely arrives all at once. It grows one camera at a time, one contract at a time, one database sharing agreement at a time, one promise that the technology will only be used against criminals. The United States is not an authoritarian country, but history shows that surveillance infrastructure often outlives the people who originally built it. That's why meaningful safeguards must come before dependence, before expansion, before the next software update, before the next misuse. Public safety matters, but so do privacy, accountability, and constitutional liberty. We should demand independent audits, transparent oversight, strict warrant requirements, limited data retention, and enforceable safeguards before surveillance networks continue to expand. Because a free society should never require innocent people to prove they have nothing to hide. Instead, it should require governments, and every private company operating on their behalf, to prove why they have the right to watch.